Hey YouTube, this year there have been a lot of great granular synths released for iOS, and I want to play with them all. So I'm starting off with Humble Tunes' Tardigrain, which was released earlier this year, and it is quite unique from previous granular synthesizers that we've seen in the past. They tended to be kind of weird, like fun, but really weird. This tries to be smooth. So you're hearing some of the weirdness, the granular stuff, but it's just a lot less weird than a lot of previous sort of things. Before we get into this, I should probably explain what granular synthesis is. You see these little white lines that are popping up on the waveform? Those are the grain slices that are being selected at random in this case. You can do stuff to control it, and I'll show you that later. But the idea is you take a big waveform, you take out little slices, and you drag a playhead back and forth across these, and it creates interesting tonal sounds. And we can actually control the tones in Tardigrain with a normal keyboard. So we can actually play this like a regular synthesizer. In fact, it's got this great chord selector here. For quickly playing through a lot of tones. And you notice that when I'm playing this, the keyboard changes. So you can play here, and you're always in the same key that you're hitting over here with the chord selector. It's basically idiot-proof. You can just kind of screw around, and you're never going to hit anything that's out of the scale that you're playing in. So the way that this is presented is really cool and very performance-oriented. So it's really easy to just jump in and start playing with it. But to do that, you're going to need to understand some of the things that are going on up here. So I'm going to go through these from the top. We've got ADSR for controlling our attack and release. And then right next to that, we've got these selectors. So you see that right now we've got these little white lines. Those are the size of our grains. We can say the maximum size of the grain should be much bigger. So now it'll pick out these random slices that are either 4 times the length of whatever that is, or 64 times the length of whatever that is. So now we've got big slices and little slices together. And we've got another thing right here. You might have noticed that as I'm holding down a single key, it seemed to be moving around where those grains were playing. That's because of the play count selector. So if I set the play count to 4, this is controlled horizontally. I'll set this to 4, and holding down a single key, it plays through that 4 times, and then it moves around. And there it moves it again. And now it moves again. So this is a way of controlling. If you don't want it to be moving around too much, you just set this to, play count 16, and you can hold this down for a long time without it ever changing on you. But if you want to have lots of variation, you can lower this. Actually, you might even be able to make it stop doing that if you hit the play count to 0. Let me see what happens. No, it is definitely changing. So that just makes it change a lot. And that can be a great way to find interesting textures like that. So we've also got the shift length, which is how big of a jump it makes between each of those plays. That's making big jumps. I actually like it when it's making smaller jumps. I think that that's more interesting. Or at least less jarring. But listen to all these great textures that are happening. Like, I'm explaining shit to you, and then it's in the background just making great sounding stuff happen. And the really crazy looking thing up here is our reverb module here. So we can change the dampening. Or how much of the reverb we're hearing. I'm going to leave it totally maxed out for just a little bit while I explain the rest of these things, because I think that's going to be amusing. This next one's a wave shaper, which is good for saturation. So let me watch the oscilloscope while I'm doing this. So yeah, you can kind of see it. It's really maxing that out. In fact, I'm going to bring that down so I'm not hurting anybody's eardrums. And this is your output gain, which is less saturated, but still kind of driving it. Yeah, you can really see that in the oscilloscope. Like, we're getting loud noises, right? But it's the wave shape isn't blurring the way that you get with this. So that can be very interesting to play with. I am going to really pull that down for right now, though. This next one is our pitch spread. So each time you hit a note, you're actually causing two things to play. You might have noticed that. See, there's two different things that play every single time you hit a note. And with this thing, you can say, okay, well, now I want them to be spread out all over the place. Pitch-wise. I'm going to try to get that back to normal. Okay. And below that is the bit crusher. Or sample crusher, I should say. Can be really interesting with some of these grains. And I'm holding my finger down to kind of play it like a mod wheel sort of thing. I'll show you how to do this easier later, but just playing around with that, you get lots of really interesting textures that are great in that reverb. And below that is the stereo spreader. So we've got a lot of reverb on this right now, so let me kill the reverbs here in just the stereo spreader. So, as is, that's pretty cool. But it gets way cooler because there is a whole another hidden menu on the right here. If I can get this thing to open up. Oh my god. There we go. You have to tap on that little line on the right a few times and then it pops up. And now you've got a whole extra menu of awesome options. The first one is a filter, which can be quite handy for taming some of these sounds. But if you don't want to play around with an XY controller, we can actually assign it using the button here. We can say, pay attention to the, well, there's a lot of different things you can assign it to, but in this case, I want to pay attention to the Y-axis of these notes. So now when I'm down here, it's pulling down it should be pulling down the filter. Oh yeah, it is. Because as soon as I bring up my finger, you can really hear all the high notes. And then we've got all of these other things that we can assign to whatever we want. By holding on the name and then dragging vertically, we can say, you know, maybe we want to change the, looking for the grain start. There we go. So this is once again mapped to the vertical of the keys. So actually, let me close this so you can see how this is working now. This is my grain start where I can actually move it around or even choose the stop like this. But now my finger on the note changes this. Now the spread is so wide right now that that's not really paying, not really doing a lot to that, but you know, it can be good if you want to say, I just want to hear all this crunchy bits up here. Right? So I'll play high notes here, and now I'm only getting that crunchy bits where I need to pull it down. And once again, I've got my filter so I can open it up or close it however I want to play it. Let me hit this a few times. There we go. So we can assign all kinds of different stuffs here. Let me play through some of the things that I've enjoyed screwing around with, like the reverb mix. I'll try assigning that to the horizontal now of the keys. Now you can see that ball is moving around up there. And now that I've got something assigned to the horizontal, I can show you how this works on the chord buttons, because these are all their own XY pads. Isn't that awesome? Like, it's just doing this. I haven't even changed the sample. The sample that we're playing around with, this is just the default thing. This is what you get when you load up the app. Like, you can import your own samples and everything like that, but I'm getting all these crazy sounds out of just the default sample. This is so cool. And like, it's a little weird. I'll give you that. But it can be very clean and smooth. So much fun. I gotta get back to telling you about it. So let's see what else we've got in here. What? For some reason I keep getting these tooltips that get stuck up here, so that's kind of annoying, but that's the only bug I've found so far in this. You can do the wave shaper, but that's probably a bad idea. Do the room size. Might be good. So now the room size is gonna, you can see that changing like this. It's the actual size of the reverb. So now playing high and low will change the room that this is supposedly in. It sounds like I'm bit crushing the hell out of this, and I don't. Oh, okay, I am bit crushing the hell out of this. All right. Man, that still sounds like really, really gnarly. I'm not sure why that's gotten so weird playing around with the room size like that. Let me tell it to stop doing that. And I'll just increase the room size. Fuck, I forget how to do that. Okay, here we go. That's still sounding really nasty. What did I do wrong? Oh, I must have hit the saturator somehow? Okay. Okay, that's entirely my fault, but we have fixed the problem. It's sounding pretty again. All right. Let's go back in here, and now let's actually intentionally screw around with... God damn it. Come on, open up. There we go. Let's intentionally screw around now with the sample crusher. And this... I also want it to be the horizontal action. I'm going to play with the chords here because that gives me more horizontal to experiment with, like visually. And you can see up in the top right the crusher coming down. Now, when it gets really, really low like this, that's just too weird for what I'm trying to do here. So I can say, don't go that low. And you see how I'm changing this slider that's setting the minimum value? Okay, so I'm holding it all the way over to the right, and now I'm playing with this to tune it to find exactly how far down I want to let it get. That sounds so good. I hope that this has been an informative look at this app, and I am going to definitely be spending some time with some more granular synths in the next month or two. Thank you very much to all my Patreon patrons for making these videos possible and actually keeping Discord alive. If you don't visit Discord often enough, you might not have heard that Apple has basically tried to kill all of the independent media outlets because they've removed our biggest source of income, which was the affiliate program. Like, we used to get a little cut out of every single app that you bought off of our websites, and they just removed that. And like, for some sites, like Touch Arcade, that's like a huge chunk of their income. And for me, it was about half of my income. So I was in some dire straits, but a whole lot of people stepped up to the bat and became my Patreon patrons, and I'm so grateful to you because I love what I'm doing. I love doing these videos. I love doing this site, and I get to keep on doing all of that because of people like you. So thank you very much, sincerely. Take it easy, folks.